We may not have the most ideal setup at home. So we may be sitting in chairs or in locations that we're not used to sitting all day. So that we take a few minutes to do some stretching and open up through the chest and through the hips a little bit for all of our stretch, or all of our extended sitting right now. All right? So, finding a comfortable seat on the floor. It does not have to be cross-legged if that doesn't feel good for you, but we're going to be down for a few minutes. So figure out what's comfortable for you for a couple of minutes. All right? Then we're going to take those hands out in front of us, and I want you to just start working some wrist circles. It doesn't matter which way you go first, we'll do both. And so then change directions with your wrist circles. All right, and releasing those hands for a minute, and then we'll work some shoulder circles. So let's start with forward circles first. Maybe get some crackling and popping going on in there. And then change directions, get some backwards circles going with your shoulders. Nice. All right, so we're going to take those hands back out in front of us, fingertips up towards the ceiling. And then we're going to curl just the fingertips around like we're holding onto a bar, just with the very first few knuckles, all right? And then from here, flatten out the wrists. So we're still holding that bar underneath, cupped in our fingers, but the wrists are now flat. And then see if you can drop those wrists down. Keep the fingers cupped with that imaginary bar in there. All right, bring the wrists back flat again. And then turn the wrists back up again. Stretch those fingers out wide, a couple of stretches and fists. Getting some movement going back in those fingers. We're going to try that one more time again. So arms out in front of you, fingers up. Curl the fingertips over like we're holding onto an imaginary bar. And then we're going to flatten out the wrists here so we don't have a bend in the wrist. We're still holding onto that imaginary bar. And then drop the wrists down. Keep those fingers curled around with that imaginary bar. Straighten the wrist back out again. One more time, back up again. Fingers spread wide, make a fist spread wide a couple of times. All right, so from here we're going to take the hands beside us. We're going to inhale the arms overhead. Exhale that right hand down to the floor, left arm up, and then start to arch over a little bit. Getting a nice stretch here through the left side of the body. Inhale back up, we'll trade sides, so that left hand's down, right arm up, and then start to arch over a little bit. We want to get a good stretch through the right side of the body here. Inhale back up, we're going to get a little bit of a twist here. So we'll take that right arm behind us, left hand to the outside of the right leg. Grow tall first, and then exhale as you twist and rotate around. And then come back to the front. If the legs are crossed, change which leg's in front before we twist the other way. It may feel a little bit weird because we're not used to sitting cross-legged in both directions most of the time. So that left hand's going to come behind us, right hand to the outside of the right knee. Grow tall first, and then exhale as you twist. Unwind back to the front. We're going to clasp the hands, take the palms away from us. Let the shoulders kind of settle back down. Stretching the hands away from us, and then on an inhale, we'll take the arms overhead, and then put a little bit of a bend in the elbows so we let the shoulders melt back down here. And then when we're here, alternate lifting one wrist and then the other, getting a little bit of a stretch through the side waist here. Getting some blood flow back in those shoulders. And then stretch back up, bring the hands back in front of us, flip the palms back towards us, and then this time I want you to rock back onto the tailbone, press those arms away from you, really getting a big stretch up between the shoulder blades here. And then we'll inhale as we come back up here. All right, from here we're going to make our way up to standing. I want you to clasp the hands behind you here. They can be open with the palms apart, or if you've got a little bit more flexibility through the shoulders, you may be able to draw the palms together. It's what feels comfortable for you. If your shoulders are really tight, you may have a strap between the two hands here for that shoulder opening. So feel free to modify this to work for you. So think about opening up through the shoulders, drawing the belly in so that we don't just sway into the low back here. Get nice and tall. And then on an exhale, we're going to fold forward. Keep the arms resting on the back for this first one. Think about lengthening the spine, stretching the spine, the crown of the head forward. Hips are going to push back just a little bit. And then we're going to inhale as we come up. Work into a little bit of balance and a stretch through the hip flexors here. If you want to grab a chair beside you for that right hand to hold on to, you're welcome. We're going to shift all the weight into the right foot. We're going to bend that left knee, reach for the ankle or the foot here. Take a couple of breaths and just let that left knee get heavy here. Think about stretching that hip flexor. If you need to take this a little bit deeper, you can start to press that left foot back a little bit, getting a slight arch into the back. But if it feels like there's compression going on, then release that and just let the knee hang heavy. Slowly releasing that left foot. We'll do the same thing on the right side. So all the weight's going to shift into the left foot. You can have a chair or table beside you with that left hand resting on. Right hand is going to pull that right heel in towards the body. You can just let that knee hang heavy here, getting a stretch in the hip flexor. If you've got a little bit more space, you can start to press that foot back, getting a slight arch going into that hip flexor and quadricep. Again, just check in with the back, make sure it feels okay in your back here. You don't want to feel compression. Slowly releasing. We're going to take the feet out a little bit wider. Hands clasped behind us again. And again, the palms can be open or together, or you can have that strap held between the hands. Get tall, grow nice and long first, and then we'll exhale as we fold again. All right, the feet are a little bit wider than the first time. Mine are out at the edges of my mat. The hands can stay resting alongside the back, or maybe they start to lift up a little bit behind you. And it may take a few breaths here to settle into this full stretch. As I continue to breathe, things kind of start to open up a little bit, and I can get a little bit deeper in this fold and a little bit deeper in this shoulder opener. And I'm going to do a slight bend to the knees as I inhale and come back up. It kind of feels good now to shake those shoulders out a little bit. All right, we're going to make our way down onto the floor, getting a little bit more chest opening here. So as you come down onto your mat, we're going to lay down on the floor. For this first one, I'm actually going to kind of turn this way so you guys can see me. All right, so I'm going to have my left hand stretched out to the side. My right hand is going to be just by my right shoulder. I'm going to have the left ear resting on the mat. And I'm going to press into that right hand and roll over onto my left hip. Several choices with my feet. I can keep both feet down on the mat, or I can take that right foot behind the left leg and plant the foot on the floor, letting the knee come up to the ceiling. This gets me a big stretch going in that left shoulder right now. So a couple of breaths right here. And then I'm going to roll back over onto my belly. Trade sides, so that right hand's out to the side, left hand by the left shoulder resting on the right ear. And then I'm going to press into that left hand, rolling onto the right hip. I can have the feet split with both feet down, or I can bring that left foot behind the right leg, planting that foot, letting the knee open up towards the ceiling. And then as I roll back onto the belly, we're going to get those hip flexors again, slightly different orientation. So I'm going to bend that left knee, reach for that left ankle or foot here. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see a little bit better. All right, so it might be right here, just pulling that heel in towards the glute. If the heel makes it all the way into the glute, think about now trying to get this left hip crease flat on the floor. So I'm going to think about tucking the tailbone under, starting to flatten out as much of this hip crease as I can here, while I continue to pull that heel in towards the glute. And then we'll trade sides. So I'm going to draw that right heel in towards the glute. Maybe it's just a gentle pulling in. If this is fairly easy for you and that heel makes it all the way to the glute, see if you can flatten out that right hip crease on the floor, intensifying that stretch in the right quadricep and hip flexor. And then we'll release. We're going to do another one of our shoulder stretches. Option though, we're going to change the angle of it. Before we had the arms straight out to the side, this time we're going to go down about a 45-degree angle. So I'm going to start with that left hand down about a 45-degree angle, right hand by the right shoulder, left ear resting on the mat. I'm going to press into that right hand, roll over onto the left hip. Feet can be split, or I can bring that right foot behind me, knee up towards the ceiling, getting that stretch. Rolling over onto the belly, we'll get the other side. So that right hand is going to come down about a 45-degree angle. Left hand to the left shoulder, resting on the right ear. Press into that left hand, roll onto the right hip. Finding your version here. Rolling back onto the belly. And from here, we're going to make our way into puppy dog. So the easiest way to get into puppy dog is to start on hands and knees. And then we're going to walk the hands out. I want to think about keeping the hips stacking over the knees. I'm going to stretch the arms out. Maybe the forehead rests down on the mat. Maybe the chin. It's a big arch through the back here. Check in and make sure it's comfortable. If it's not, push your way back to child's pose. If puppy dog works for you, let's take a couple more breaths here, opening into those shoulders and upper back a little bit more. Option in your puppy dog, if you want to drop the elbows down onto the floor and draw the hands together with the fingertips pointing up towards the ceiling, or even starting to let the thumbs fall back towards the base of your neck here. Gets a little bit deeper opening. And then stretching those hands back out. Everybody pressing back to child's pose if you're not there yet. Thank you for joining me for your quick stretch break today. Namaste.